Hi, welcome back. On this episode, we're going to start making a luggage rack for the back of this bike. It's going to be a little bit different than what you might be expecting. It's not going to be just on the backrest. I'm going to make one big one that goes from the back of the driver's seat to the back of the bike. I'm going to make it a little bit bulky so it comes out roughly to here and probably roughly about this high off the top of the bike. So I'm not making this for everyday use. I'm making this for when I travel, just so things are a little more secure, less likely to blow away or anything like that. And it'll give me the option to hopefully lock some stuff up if I want. So for my base dimensions, the way that I'm kind of planning it out, usually I like to carry a gas can with me when I'm on a long trip, just in case. So usually I'll tie a gas can somewhere around here. And then on the back rack, usually I have a tent. Normally I use this little tent, but for making this, I'm going to use my bigger tent. So if I have somebody else with me, this is really only good for one person, but this tent's nice and roomy, so it's good for two people and all their gear if they want to get it in and out of the rain. So I'm going to plan it for that tent. And then my sleeping bag is a -10 sleeping bag. I've had it for years. So something like that. It's like I could go up like that, but I figure this bag isn't overly heavy. So I think I'm going to make it so the bag will end up sticking out like so. So you can kind of see my rough size that I'm kind of thinking. And then I'll be able to kind of curl in kind of like so. And then a bit of a bubble top for the top part. Because I want to have enough room for all this stuff. This is my big bulky stuff. But I also want room for extra clothes because I always can get caught in the rain when I go on trips. So it's nice to have extra clothes to wear that are clean and dry. And it would be nice to have a little extra room for tools and that kind of stuff. So that's kind of what I have visioned in my mind. So some things I'm taking into account before I even start doing anything is how I'm thinking of securing it. And also with my overlap, I need to make sure I have enough room to open the bag. And if you come flat out like that, you'll end up hitting. So I did a little bit of measuring and come roughly 4 to 5 inches from the edge of the seat. And I will miss that. So I'll give myself a little bit of extra room just in case things shift while I'm driving or whatever, but they shouldn't. And then I'll do a bit of an arc up to allow for the extra room clearance. And also so I can see in my bag and what's in there too. Because that's what as far as the bag opens, so you're kind of looking over and down. So I want to make sure I have lots of room for that too. So my initial plan is to have a plate across here, and whenever I have stuff on the back of my seat, I'm always afraid of scuffing up the leather. So I always put a blanket or a towel or something to help protect it. But I'll end up doing, I'll bend a piece into 90 here so I can kind of curl around that. And then I'm going to have another piece bent into 90 here. I can't carry the same piece over just because it's a different height from here to the seat. So I'm going to do it in 2 separate pieces and then just weld it together. I'm going to use 20 gauge steel to make this. I wanted to make it out of aluminum, but I'm kind of in a bit of a rush to make it. I have a trip coming up very soon, and I'm going to just make it out of 20 gauge. I already have most of the steel kicking around here, so it'll be a little bit cheaper too. So making it out of aluminum is going to be a lot more pricey. And yeah, so I'm thinking I'm just going to make it out of 20 gauge. It'll be a little bit heavy, but I think it'll be okay. So I'm carrying 3 gallons or so of fuel and everything, so I'm not overly concerned about an extra 15 pounds of weight necessarily. So it might end up being a little bit heavier than 15 pounds, but I'll try to get a weigh on it when I'm done. So I'm planning on coming over, and then on the back I'm planning on carrying out to a certain length, and I'm going to have some material bent up here, so that'll help keep it for side to side as well. So it won't be just up here keeping it in place, it'll be back here as well. And then when I come out, I'll have this side coming down. So I'm kind of thinking underneath like the tent and the sleeping bag and that kind of stuff, I'm hoping to kind of have still two little pockets of storage. There'll be lots of room for some clothes and swimsuits and that kind of stuff. I haven't decided yet if I'm going to take the back pad off. For sure leaving the back rest bracket here, but I'm kind of debating in my head. I haven't decided yet if I want to take this off, just because it'll give an extra 1.5 inches of space, and it'd be somewhere easy to secure to, where you'd have to be into the box to remove it, I guess would be the best way to say that. So might make it a little bit more secure, and also help hold it a little bit better on the highway. And then I kind of have the center line of my seat marked. This is just white electrical tape. And then down here, there's the bracket for the saddlebag. I'm kind of thinking that might be a good spot to come up, one on each side, to help secure the front. Have like a big eyelid bolt or something coming up, and I can tighten it up from the inside to cinch it down. That's one idea I have going on my head, between up there and then doing something with the luggage rack to secure it. So that's just kind of what the plan in my head kind of is. So I have cut a little bit of steel already. So this is kind of the piece that I cut for back here. So as you can see, it's something like that. I know this distance off the back is pretty ridiculous. It'll probably end up being more like that, which is still pretty long and kind of ugly. But I'm okay with that if I can fit everything and have extra space. I'm going to do a little bit of bead rolling in this to get a little extra strength in it. And because I have some thick mud flap that I want to put underneath here, so I don't scuff up the nice chrome, because that'd be a shame. So I've already got that kind of started. And then I already have a piece of steel cut up for up here. It's a little bit wider than what I for sure need, but it's kind of set kind of across like that. I have it a little bit wider because if I decide to take this out, it's the perfect width to sit down. And if I leave this in, well, then I just need to trim it a little bit. But I'm kind of leaning towards taking this out. I haven't fully decided yet though. But yeah, so that will be there. The bag won't quite clear it. And you want to get it open to about there, and then it hits. But I want to have it a little bit longer because I can go on the English wheel, or with the hammer and dolly, or the sandbag, or on the plenishing hammer. And I can start to kind of get the shape that I want to make the opening, so I'm not making it all out of the one piece intersecting. I can have half of it bent up on this piece here, and the other half on the piece that's coming in and meeting it. And it might make it a little bit easier to bend up and get the desired angle that I want, depending on how aggressive it is. And I'm also going to do a little bit of bead rolling in this piece too, to make it a little more sturdy. And then I have this stuff here bent up. So this is going to kind of run like so, like it'll be coming here, and then when I get to here I'll be straight. I won't carry that angle, I don't think. I think I'll keep it straight. Otherwise it'll cover the license plate, and I don't want to get hassled or pulled over for having my license plate completely blocked. So I'm trying to keep that visible, but at the same time trying to keep this as functional as possible and to have as much space as possible. So I'm going to carry this kind of over, and then same with this will be up here. So this is a little bit longer than I need in this step, but I wanted the depth for over here because I'm kind of planning on having that extra space down below. I may even droop down and try to hug the lights, but I don't think I'm going to go quite to that extreme. I think I'll probably come down, over, and then kind of follow that again. but this will give me roughly an extra 4 inches by probably like 6 inches or so of space on each side. So that'd be roughly 8 by 12 cube worth of space, which is actually quite a bit. And it's down a little bit lower, which works out good too. So that's kind of where I'm at. Yeah, like if you look at this just sitting on there. And then if we put the tent on here. And then the sleeping bag, you can kind of see I come down to about here. So that's kind of where that hideous length is coming from. But if I'm using my other tent, which I normally use, it's quite a bit smaller. I just got this out of the kids section at Walmart a long time ago now, about 10 years or so ago. So if I'm using that tent, and then still using this big bulky sleeping bag, I gain quite a bit of distance on here. So I figure if I make it for this, it still gives me more room for clothes or tools or whatever. So I'm going to make it with the other tent in mind, but I'll always be using this tent unless I'm traveling with a buddy or something that doesn't have room for his own tent. Alright, so at this stage, I'm going to start doing my bead rolling in this guy here to start getting some strength in. I think this will be my first piece that I really start to shape, and then I'll build off of this. I'm not going to do any welding on the bike for a couple different reasons. One of the reasons being, if I weld with anything on the bike, I gotta make sure I disconnect the battery, because otherwise I could end up taking out the computer, and I don't want to do that. And the other reason being, if I do any welding on the bike, the spark's going to fly, it's going to hit my seat or the paint, and it's going to burn it, and I don't want that either. So I'm going to try to make some marks, do little tacks, let it cool down, get it back on the bike, make sure I like how it's fitting, and then welding it up solid and letting it cool. So we definitely want to weld this solid so the rain doesn't get in. Depending on how things end up sitting, I may end up drilling a couple little water holes in it, so if water gets in, it has a place to run. So that's where we're at. So I'm going to mark this out on how I want to do my bead rolls in it, and then we'll start bead rolling. Alright, I'm going to run this through the bead roller. I'm going to do 2 drops down, one here and one here. I folded this edge over a little more just so I can fit it through the bead roller. I should have did these beads first before I bent that in the first place. I got a little ahead of myself. I'm not going to do any pre-stretching before I roll this, because I'm going to go all the way one end right to the other. So it's all going to shrink uniform as I go, so I don't need to do any pre-bead rolling on it. Or I don't have to do any pre-stretching on it. So I'm just getting this in, and I'm just going nice and easy on the first pass. And then we're going to go and we're going to do them all one step at a time, then they'll all be identical. So this is just a hair too long to fit through the very end here. So it's not going to be perfect up here, but no one's going to see it really, and it's going to do the trick what I want it to do. So now I'm able to go a little bit tighter. So So it's not looking too bad. You can see the funny angle here because it didn't fit in. It's not 100%, but it's going to do its purpose. We'll have that thick rubber on here after, so that'll work out good. Alright, I got some lines marked out on this. So these are going to drop down, going out to help take some of this flimsiness away for the load sticking out and behind. Alright, so there's that. It gives it a lot of strength. I didn't do it nice and round on the back side, so I'm not sure where I'm going to start doing my roll up. So until I decide that, it'll be easier for me to just leave it open like that, because I can just kind of use the hammer or the wheel to start initiating a curve, which is what I'll probably do. And then just this will just kind of taper out into nothing when it rolls up, so it'll be kind of disappearing. I'm going to do a similar thing on the seat piece to go across the seat, and then we'll be pretty good, and we can go from there. So this is going to look pretty decent, I think, and I think it'll be pretty functional. Alright, so I started making one of the pieces to keep the box from sliding side to side. So there was already, the piece wasn't quite long enough that I cut this out of. It was kind of a bit of an angle. So I might make the other side match after. I might not. We'll see what happens there. So as you can see, that's going to kind of sit like that. Then I'll have that steel piece over top of it, and I'll have this welded to that other piece, and this will just keep the box from being able to move. So I used the shrinker along here to get this nice radius. So it fits pretty decent, something like that. And then once I do the other side, I'm going to try the stretcher. And I should be able to stretch this section here. That should match that nice curve up. And I think it'll be pretty awesome. So this is a piece that I bent a 90 in. So this is what this started out as. Or this is what it started out as, and this is what it looked like. So I'm going to make the same piece except reverse for this side here. So I got my shrinker right here. I've kind of got it marked out where I kind of want to shrink. So I'm just going to go from the shrinker, do a little test fit, and it'll be a little bit of back and forth, but it shouldn't take too long. So basically you just slip it in and then push down. So as you can see, that didn't take too long to start getting some radius in there with quite a bit of control. Alright, and then there's the other side. In just a few minutes, that's our rough shape. Looks pretty decent, nice and uniform. So I'm going to switch these dies out. When I read online, it's going to take a few minutes. This style's a bit of a pain apparently. So I'll eventually probably either buy a second one just for stretching, or I might buy a combo pack and keep this for stuff where I need a deeper throat maybe. I don't know. Yeah, so now I'm going to do some stretching in this area, and then should be good to start to get it tacked on to the other piece, and we can really start flying along with this. Alright, so I stretched along here on the stretcher, and now I'm going to use my linear stretch die just to smoothen it off. When you're using the plenishing hammer, it's good to use some type of lubricant, and the piece of metal will slide a lot easier and make things go a lot better for you, and This way you're not fighting the dies. It's just nice and smooth. Just a little squirt on both sides. And then it'll slip and slide a lot easier as you go. Alright, there's that piece. After one final fit, but it's probably should be good. So as you're stretching it, whether you're using the hand stretcher or plenishing hammer or whatever your method is. So if you want to stretch right here so this curls up, you have to, it's kind of almost like a V. So you have to stretch more on the outer edge and less on the inner edge. So you always kind of work tight and then kind of work your way out and get wider and wider as you go, kind of in a V shape. And then I usually, there's some little blemishes in that. Once I kind of got where I thought I wanted it, I kind of did a pass over the whole thing just to give it that nice uniform shape, which looks pretty good. And it takes out most of your little marks from your stretcher or shrinker as well. So now, after a quick sand, this will be good to go. Alright, I got the base kind of all made up and tacked into place. I kind of ended up going a little bit further than I thought I was going to go off camera. So we'll kind of go through everything that we did. But before we do that, the whole idea for this setup is gas can kind of up there. And then I usually use my small tent, but I wanted to make it so the big tent would fit. And then sleeping bag. So there's not too much weight. I know it's pretty far back, but there's not too much weight here. And once I get the rest of the box made up, this should be pretty strong and rigid and shouldn't want to bend on me. So that's kind of that. And usually I use my small tent. As you can see, that leaves way more room in the back for either extra clothes or just extra space, which is nice, or souvenirs, depending where you're going. So I'm just gonna have it all tacked together right now. So to take it on and off, my plan is so it should just slip up. I end up taking the backrest off here too. I sub the bar. So basically just lift up and on just a slight angle. So this is the underside of it. Straight here, those side pieces that we made for the seat so it can't shift too far. And then these are runners going back. So I had to go on the plenishing hammer, kind of bubble it a little bit out. I used the sandbag and the rubber mallet first to get the basic shape, and then use the plenishing hammer to get it a little bit smoother. That was the same thing on both sides. Yeah, I just have a couple tacks on it right now just to hold together, but it's already getting rigid, which is perfect. And then on the bottom, I carried these out because I'm planning on having storage in this area here, kind of coming out, just for some extra clothes or whatever, swimsuit. I just have this tacked in a few spots too. Once I get it all welded, or this stage of it welded and kind of have the welds cleaned up, then I'm going to do a little bit of shaping on this top part, because right now the saddlebags, they hit this so you can't open it all the way. So once I get everything kind of welded and more secure and everything's still in place, then I'll start bending this up, probably with a plenishing hammer or hammer and dolly, and then I'll probably end up going to either the wheel or I'll finish it off with the plenishing hammer as well. Yeah, so to put it back on, it's kind of the reverse, and so far it's not too heavy. Oh, so this just slips on, just like so. And then it's in place and solid again. Alright, I'm making some headway. I've done quite a bit off camera, a little more than I planned on. It was kind of a slow go for a while there, just kind of getting things kind of the way I wanted and everything. but it's getting there. Kind of got things tacked in. So I still have lots of trimming and stuff to do on it, but it's finally getting some shape. Here I got these pieces ready to basically tack on. They're going to be something like that, and then from there we'll be kind of coming up and over. And then I'm working on the front piece right now. So it's going to be something like that. I have more bending to do here, so we're going to do that on the wheel. We'll continue on there. But it'll be something like that. It's a little bit high and ridiculous, but part of it is I figure I want to make sure I can put a 5-gallon gas can in there if I wanted to, even though I probably never will. But that's the reason for being so high. But we'll get some more shape to it and we'll see how it goes. So right now I'm just using number 4 die, and I'm not using the rubber band. I'm just going metal on metal. So I got that side looking pretty good, but my body should block most of this, and then the wind should just be coming on these edges, so it should be okay. So I'm going to go in here a little bit more. So I'm just going back and forth, and then I'm turning it and going like this, just stretching it and getting that nice roll. So I'm just light pressure, and I'm doing a pretty heavy overlap as I go. So as you can see, that's quite a bit more shape in it. And go see how it fits, and we'll go from there. I want to do a little bit more on both sides. Alright, this piece is getting pretty close. I'm going to do a little bit of fitting and everything on it, a little bit of trimming here and there to make it fit. Yeah, so we're going to keep going and we'll see how it turns out. Alright, so this is the inside. So that would be where the backrest should be. So I decided to have the pad off so it gave a little more room inside of here. This is just some rubber that I just used a couple little Kelly screws to hold down, and then I wrapped electrical tape around there just so nothing can fall out. And I always just had something kind of shoved through there, so if someone did take the time to take the box off, they wouldn't be able to get it past that. And then up here is where I had the gas tank as far forward as possible. And I welded some tie downs in here. So there's 2 tie downs up here, kind of designated towards the gas can. And then tie down here and here. So that's just kind of go across like that through the handle. And then I have one tie down. And I have one tie down in the back that can go up to the other ones, or here, wherever really. So yeah, so this is where the seat is. You can kind of see from the weld outlines, the pad is right there. The seat kind of comes up and flat, so that's why there's this bit of a roll there. And then back here is our luggage rack. So we have our 2 fasteners on the back that we're looking at by the plate, and then the other 2. And then from about here back is just extra, so I don't put anything too heavy back here. I try to keep it just a clothes and sleeping bag and tent. And my tent and my sleeping bag's pretty bulky, so it takes up most of that space anyways. I welded a piece here just for this to attach to, and I did the Same thing up there. I got my combination lock dangling there, so when I put it down I can just use the combination lock. So yeah, and that's the cargo garage there, that's bead roll that's sticking out on the back side. So it turned out pretty good. So yeah, so that's kind of the gist of it. So I should have probably made it of aluminum to save some weight, but I was trying to save money. I'm not sure if that was a good or bad idea on my part, but it worked well. With the I had a lot of weight in there between the gas and the tools. That right there was probably 75 pounds or more. So I noticed it a little bit just in like when you're making like slow speed turns. I noticed it a little bit there, but other than that, it was good on the highway. I didn't notice it at all. It didn't really seem to catch too much wind, which I was afraid of with it being a big sail, but it didn't seem too bad. And from the front, it's just slightly wider than my body, but it's not wider than the fairing, so it allowed the air to pass by pretty good. And it also wasn't in my mirrors. I could see just a sliver of it in my mirrors, which was perfect. So I was able to make sure it wasn't going anywhere. And it was good the whole time. So, yeah. Just like that. Yeah. So that's the box. It worked out really well. If you've seen this going down the highway, it was me. I'm assuming the only one out there. I've never seen anybody else have one. It kind of reminds me of the old pizza delivery moped things almost, or like an old ice cream bike. But yeah, so I had started grinding some welds, and then I was like, I don't have time for this, so I have to do all the grinding later on. So let me know what you think of the patina on here. When people did stop and talk to me, and when I told people that I was when I got home, I was going to clean up the welds, do a little more metal work to it and get it a little bit better, and then get the rust off of it, prime it and paint it black to match the bike. A lot of people said, oh no, you should keep the patina and then maybe clear coat it, but keep it patinaed. I don't think the patina necessarily matches the bike, but I am curious what everybody thinks. Should I keep it all patinaed, or should I clean it up and make it so it matches the bike? So I'm not sure if it complements the bike right now. It's definitely an eye catcher, which is kind of what I was hoping for a little bit with the cargo garage in the back. So if I paint it, my plan is to have the cargo garage in white lettering and then the rest of the box black, and I thought that would look pretty sharp. But if you disagree, leave a comment and say what you think as far as finishing that goes. But yeah, if you have any questions on mounting or whatever, just leave me a comment. I'll help you out best I can. And yeah, so if you see this going down the road, I'm most likely on a trip going somewhere, or I have something oddball to carry, or maybe I'm going to a car show. Maybe this will be a car show thing that I'll enter every now and then. So I ended up doing some English wheeling on all the panels to give them a little bit of radius. And I did the same thing on the lid too. So as you can see, it's not floppy and flat. It has just a slight little roll. Everything stayed dry whether I was riding or parked, which was really good. Alright, so I got the box pretty much done. I still need to grind some welds and then decide which road I want to go with it. As far as paint or leave it patina, I'm kind of leaning towards paint because it doesn't really match the rest of the bike. The bike's not all patina, but that's to decide later. So I'm going to go over kind of what I did quick. I'm going to show all the junk I have in on it. So as you can tell from the last time that you've seen it, it's actually together and it's all rusted out and patinaed. When I was making it, I was in a mad rush to try to get it done before a trip. and that's why I quit recording when I did, because it was adding extra time to getting it done, and I ended up leaving a day later than I planned on, because I was behind on getting this box together, and I needed this box so I could lock my stuff up so it'd be safe. So I was going to leave the bike on the mainland for a couple of days, and I went to France. So we'll do a little walk around, we'll kind of talk about how it's secured, and then we'll take all the stuff out of it, and you can see the ridiculous amount of stuff that I was able to comfortably carry. Alright, so starting at the front of the box, I ended up getting these at Princess Auto, and I made some little loops here, and then I made a bracket that goes down on the other bracket, just slips on, no modifying or anything, and then I can cinch it to make it nice and stable. I couldn't quite get the bolt in down on there without taking the bag off, so I had to take the 4 bolts out of the bag to access it, but that's okay. And then down under here, there's that so it can't slide off the seat. And then coming down, I cleaned it up a little bit. I'm not 100% sure if I like how the signal lights are. They're kind of partly blocked. When you're at a safe follow me distance behind, you can see them okay. But if you're tailgating, you can't see them. But it'd be arguable if you're tailgating that close if you'd be able to see them anyways. So I'm not sure if I am going to kind of bring it up like that a little bit, or if I'll just leave it the way it is for 1 or 2 trips a year is probably okay. The hinges, I left them open, at least for now. I'll probably always keep them open though. And then I put a few tie wraps on here so it doesn't drop down. But when I cut those tie wraps off, it leaves me enough room to open it all the way up, and then I can just lift the lid right off. So it makes it a little bit easier putting it on and off of the bike, and it also allows me to finish the metal work I want to do on the lid before if I were to ever permanently mount it. I want to get that done first. I like to get this stuff fitting a little bit tighter, and even in here this needs to be at the very least shrunk, so I'd like it to fit like that type of gap all the way over. Like even here it needs to be shrunk a little bit. So, and these welds need to be grinded. Coming to the back, we're kind of close to the garage door, so it's a little bit tight, but I had bead rolled cargo garage in the back of it there. So you can kind of see right there, if it's not too bright. So I have 2 bolts, one right there, and the other one same spot but other side. So I just use 1/4 so that's what's holding it on, and then same thing back here. It's a little easier to see. I have 2 1/4 back there too. So there's 4 bolts holding it on. I left this part opened up so my license plate's still visible. And then coming around to the left side of the bike, same thing, one of those holding it on the front. And then this is my latch mechanism I made up. So all it takes is 1 lock to lock the box up. I know if people pry hard enough, they can get in, but it at least keeps the honest-ish people out. So you just open that up, pull that over, and then I usually slide it back, and slide it forward. And when I put a little bit of pressure on the top of the lid, it slides super smooth. But having a little bit tight like that keeps it from rattling the whole time. And that's also why I added some rubber on here and on here to get rid of any rattle. And then that just goes up like that. And then you just open it up. And that's the trunk fully open. So it works out really well. So I have it set up so I access it from the left side of the bike. That's the lower side of the bike, so it's easier. So the inside rusted a little bit, but not nearly as much as the outside. So now we'll start taking all the stuff out of there, and you can see how much stuff can actually be carried. I have more stuff than I need and some pretty bulky stuff, but it worked out really well. And you can also see just from the garage that I left in a pretty big hurry. So, like, I did a tire change a couple hours before I left. So I have all my tire stuff out. A bunch of tools so I could sort out what I needed with me for certain breakdowns. So I got all that. I had to do a little bit of aluminum welding before I left too for my my highway pegs. I had to fabricate and re-weld that stuff on both of them because I wanted to make sure I had my highway pegs for the trip. They've been off the bike for a while. I just hadn't got around to welding them up. All right, this was all organized at the beginning of the trip. By the last day is kind of throw everything in and call it a day because you know you're getting home. So, but the clothes at one point in time, they were down on the bottom, besides kind of like the license plate area. I kind of cannonballed home the last little bit, and I ended up riding through the night. It was getting pretty cold, so I was throwing everything on that I had to stay warm enough to keep riding and stay comfortable. I ended up doing about 2,500 kilometers, almost straight through. I had stopped in the middle of the night at one gas station for about an hour, hour and a half, and I just took a cat nap on the bike. I grabbed my sleeping bag and just threw it over myself and caught a little siesta and then kept going. So I brought my wife's gel pad in case my butt got sore. I ended up using it the first day or two, and then after that I was good. So, but for a reason my butt got sore the first day. So this is a jack that I made up like right before I left. I carried some dog spike things with me. So my theory was if I broke a belt, I would use my jack and jack the bike up, but I know it'd be really tippy. So my plan was if I needed to have at least the front of the bike kind of on softish ground where I could screw these in so they'd be good and secure. And then I was going to tie ratchet straps from these to the bike on each side to hopefully keep it up. That was my idea. Luckily I never needed them, but that was the reason I carried these was for that, so the bike wouldn't topple over if I needed to change a belt for some reason. Torque wrench in case I needed to get into anything. More clothes, some GoPro stuff. This is just my cover for the front of the bike that I had made up. A couple water bottles. More clothes. I ended up having, all my clothes were wet at one point. It rained the whole time during the trip. And I ended up having to, I was going down the road when it wasn't raining. I had a few spots where it was just overcast and not rain. And I tied them to the top of the trunk trying to get them a little bit drier because I was soaked and cold and it never stopped. This is just a bag of a bunch of tools. I have the manual in here too. Just a backpack so I could throw some stuff in and go. And my toothbrush and that kind of stuff's in here too. Some souvenirs for my family. So I never thought I would actually need these, but I usually bring them just in case if I have room, and I end up using them when I was riding through the night. So they're four-wheeler hand warmer things that you put on your four-wheeler. They look really ugly, but they work really nice. So I carried those. There's some extra oil for the just some oil for the transfer case in case I needed it. I also carried oil filter and like 4.5 liters of oil. And on the side of the road, I ended up doing a oil change because otherwise I was going to be about 3,500 kilometers overdue. So I got my big -10 sleeping bag. I got my little kids tent that works out really good. some running shoes if I needed them, more clothes. Another bag of clothes, just a rag, and then just some bags. Yeah, some more clothes, some rope, flashlight, GoPro stuff, some flip-flops. Sunscreen is always a must. Always, every fuel stop I try to reapply sunscreen to my face. I brought some baby wipes. I brought clutch plates in case I had any clutch issues. Block of wood so I could get the bike up a little more vertical if I had to jack it up. And I ended up using it when I was doing an oil change too. This is just the twist thing that goes with that jack. A spare belt in case I needed it. Another shirt. Some more rope. And a used clutch cable just in case I needed it. I figure better safe than sorry. Some ratchet straps. So I went on a couple ferries during this trip, and I don't always trust the straps on the ferries, so I brought my own. 5-gallon gas can. Never needed it, but if I did need it, I had it. Alright, so that was everything in here. Now we can take a better look. So, thanks for watching. If you have any questions, just leave a comment. If you want to see more on this, leave a comment and I can make more videos on it of whatever you want to see. And if I end up finishing it off and doing the weld, grinding on the welds and getting everything fitting the way I want it to fit, I'll definitely make another video with that too, I think. So, thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe and click the notification button. And check me out on Instagram at Color Garage. Have a great day.